Hello everyone. The assignment today is still to continue working on the fractions packet, but I also wanted to go over problems 6 through 10 off of ACT practice set 5. So let's take a look at number 6. Now remember, you're allowed to use a calculator on these. So if you did have your calculator, all you'd have to do is type in 8 squared, but you should know that that's 64. So you could hit 64 times 4 to the 0.5, and you're getting 128. Now 128 isn't an answer here, but you could go through and say, well, what is 2 to the 7th? So you could type that in on your calculator, and guess what? That's 128. Another way to do this without the calculator is to still show we've got 8 squared, so that's 64. And really 4 to the 0.5, we write as 4 to the 1/2, and we saw yesterday in example 5, we saw the square root of b turned into b to the 1/2, so this is really times the square root of 4. So that's 64 times 2, which is, again, 128. So again, you can go through, because you have your calculator, you'd be able to go through and figure this out. Now, another way to do this without turning 8 squared into 64 is to rewrite all of these in base 2. So for 8 is 2 cubed, but then we're squaring that. And then 4 is 2 squared, and then we're taking that to the 0.5 power. So this becomes 2 to the 6th times 2, half of 2 is 1, so then we get 2 to the 7th that way. All right, for number 7, kind of like looking at the square root of b, which was b to the 1/2. So if we have x to the 2/3, this bottom number is our index. So we have the cubed root of x squared. And then that was c. For number 8, given u and v such that a squared to the u is equal to a to the 12th and a to the v squared is equal to a to the 8th for all positive values a, what is a to the u plus v? So we have to figure out what u and v are. So we could write this as a to the 2u, multiply exponents, equals a to the 12th. And if our bases are the same, then our exponents are the same. So 2u has to equal 12, which makes u 6. Over here, we would get a to the 2v equals a to the 8th. So 2v would equal 8, and v would equal 4. So then we would have a to the u plus v, which is 6 plus 4, so that gives us b, a to the 10th. Number 9, for all positive real numbers x, which of the following expressions is equivalent? This was x to the 24th, it cut off a little bit here, over x to the 6th, over 1 over x squared. Well, what we could do is simplify this first. That numerator just becomes x to the 18th. We subtract the exponents. And then I could still leave this as 1 over x squared, or I could turn this into just x to the negative second if I were to bring this up here. And then continuing, I would now bring this up here. So I get x to the 18th times x squared, which is x to the 20th. Another way to look at this is, again, if I have x to the 18th over 1 over x squared, I can multiply this by x squared, I can multiply this by x squared. So now this is gone in the bottom, and we're still back to x to the 20th. All right, then our last example, again, we could use calculators. Which of the following lists those integer values of d for which the fraction 2 over d lies between 1/5 and 1/3? And again, sometimes decimal approximations are the best way to do this. So on your calculator, if you divided by 1, or divided 1 by 5, or if you happen to know what 1/5 is, that's a 0.2. And then 1/3 is 0.3 repeating. So we need to know which values of 2 over these answers here are going to be in between. So if I did A, this gives me 2/4, which is 1/2. 1/2 is over here. It's to the right, so I could rule out A. It's definitely above 1/3. So 3, 4, and 5. So this will give me 2/3. Well, 2/3 is a 0.6. 2/4, we're back to 1/2. And then 2/5 is actually a 0.4, so it's not B. See, if we did 2/8, that's 1/4, so that's a 0.25, so that works. But now in part D, or answer D, it gives us the 8 again, so now we have to check what is 2/7. We know 2/8 is 0.25, and what's 2/9? So you could do this on your calculator. So if you took and divided 2 by 7, you get like a 0.29, and that's between these two. 2/9 is actually a 0.2 repeating, so D looks like it works. And then let's check. So C worked, but also for D, 7 and 9 worked, so we could rule out C. Now for E, we have 2/16, which becomes 1/8. If you divided 1 by 8 on your calculator, you get a 0.125, and that's too small. So D is the correct answer here. All right, so go ahead and continue working on the fractions packet. Again, please be sure to show work, especially for those that you need to get common denominators, show that you're multiplying by reciprocals, or that you're crossing common factors out. So for the majority of these problems, it does require work. Let me know if you guys have any questions.